welcome to Angry Me Productions. We're about to discuss a topic, the apocalypse scenarios from the years. What it is we're going to discuss the scenarios that news media has come up with, such as nuclear holocaust, climate change, and we're going to see what we can figure out what people were thinking back then, since all these stuff that actually come back from that time frame to this time frame doesn't really exist. And this is Angry Me Productions with me, David Dickerman, and Michael the Dog Mike Fit.
Woof woof.
Woof woof. All right, let's see how we go here. The first one we were actually thinking about discussing is the nuclear holocaust, and the nuclear weapons actually started getting into advancement and an event.
You know, you take all of the various different things that came about from the advancement of nuclear weapons and all of the various aspects of that. Yes, we know radiation is bad. Yes, we know that nuclear weapons will destroy large areas. But that knowledge seems to have curtailed us from killing each other with them. Yeah,
well, my thinking was they had all... We don't even in schools anymore have the nuclear deterrent to where we get underneath their chairs and desks that are lead lined and supposed to stop the radiation because we're just underneath them and not in a lead box. But, hey, it's supposed to work out.
Well, you know, it's not like a lead box would help much in that situation, Annie.
I don't know, it helped out a lot. Have you seen the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Search for the Crystal Skulls? I mean, he was in one of those lead-lined refrigerators, and it's not real, is it?
No. I'm pretty sure the math says you need at least 6 to 24 feet of dirt between you and the radiation.
I mean, he survived, and it bounced off pretty well. I've seen the videos. I watched it over and over and over again on YouTube. I mean, it has to work that way. In my mind, I think it was really just a documentary. And George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, what they were doing is they were just documenting the adventures of Indiana Jones. That's real, right?
If you say so.
Okay, we'll go with that. Now, nuclear deterrence from the years has been just basically armament of different countries and raising the bar to where they get more weapons, and it's supposed to stop us from shooting because they have the weapons, and if they find out that we're going to shoot, they're going to end up destroying us too. I mean, that it's the bigger gun scenario, and that's the reason why we have that. But one thing I just don't understand on that aspect is all the stuff that we don't hear about anymore. I mean, every I think 10, 20 years we'll get, they're getting nuclear weapons. Well, not really that. I mean, every time someone like Iran or North Korea nowadays, it's the podunk countries. I'm going to call them podunk countries because that's what it really are. Podunk countries that decide they want nuclear weapons. I mean, they see us, the big leagues in the United States. We have nuclear weapons. Russia, they have nuclear weapons. Almost everybody has nuclear weapons nowadays. But it's more or less the countries that are trying to get that step. And we have written documentation, treaties with some of these countries. Hey, we don't want any more nuclear weapons. We have enough. Go ahead and sign this. Don't make any. But in the long run, what they really do want at times is they want assurance that, hey, we can mess you guys up just as bad as you can mess us up. Don't mess with us.
I think it really more boils down to a status symbol. Kind of like that, what was the old saying? Competing with the Joneses?
Oh, yeah.
Who has a bigger house?
Not even have the bigger house. What was it in the worst case, a really, really bad case scenario was like American Psycho. Is the guy went off psychotic and started killing people because one of the guys had a better business card compared to his. I mean, if we're going on that route and going, hey, look at this, I have a better business card. It's felt, lined in leather. It's stamped with heat and power because that's what I am, heat and power. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to start killing people because of that.
That sounds like the common aspect that we've been running into all over the place.
Yes, that's what usually happens. Okay, off that subject, nuclear deterrence. No one needs a nuclear bomb, but, we gotta have a nuclear bomb. Anyways, the next subject was fuel, fossil fuel. Gases, back in the early 70s. To even nowadays, I mean, any country that we get oil from, they pretty much want to manhandle us because we need gas, and they want to ump the prices on it. The worst thing that happened was back in the 70s. It was starting out at 50 cents. Everybody had gas guzzlers back then to where you go 8 gallons a mile.
That was a generous...
Yeah. You had a big tank, but you ended up having it to where you have... God, I messed that up.
Hey.
I blanked out. I was going so fast and going so good, and then I just messed it up. But anyways, it went from 50 cents to about $4 to where it's basically... in California, same thing that what they're doing in California, but they're trying to. Now it's gotten to the point where they're acting like, oh, you gas, we're gonna run out. It's gonna be gone within. We were supposed to be like in the 90s. We were supposed to be like.
Well, didn't they give us 10 years in the 80s, and we've still got gas coming out of places we didn't expect?
Yeah, we opened up a. Oil pipeline from Alaska, and we have big reserves there, big reserves in Texas. We're actually not using our own reserves. We're actually importing oil from different countries to save our reserves. I haven't gotten to the in-depths of that and done research. Funny story. But what it is basically is we're basically wanting to use other people's stuff until theirs is out, and then we can keep our stuff. I don't know what people are thinking of that.
Probably that it's going to be cheaper to pay for foreign oil than it is to pay for in-country oil. So use the cheaper oil while it's available to sell to us at a higher price, and then when there's no more of the cheap stuff available, then they'll pay us for our oil just to sell it back to us.
That makes total sense, but sad sense at the same time. But my thinking is this. Right now we have it to where whatever your state you're in, is what state they tax on it. California being one of the highest tax on gas and fossil fuels because, one, they believe that if people have to pay a higher price, people are going to waste less. They're not going to waste more gas to go places and basically cause a pollution catastrophe, destroying the environment, causing a lot of smog, when in all reality, it's nobody cares. They're pissed off that they have to pay those big prices, and the little man is literally paying for it because they can't enjoy their life as much as they want to anymore. Well, and that's because of the higher gas prices, because it's taxed heavily. You go to California and you have probably about $4 a gallon. Here, $2. Still, in my book, that's a little bit too much. But
and what I was going to say was, you look at where that money is being spent. They're sitting here saying, "Oh, this is a catastrophe event. This is a catastrophe event," but so we're going to tax the heck out of it because it's a catastrophe event. We're trying to avoid a catastrophe, but are they putting any of the money that they're making on those taxes into cleaning up the smog, into producing vehicles that produce less?
Well, all the research I did on that was they're actually just giving the money back to they're trying to do the Robin Hood effect where they have a high increase of homeless, and they're actually just giving the money for the people it's just ridiculous. I mean, instead of innovating, they even try all the taxes that are done in California. It's done with high land tax, high gas tax, anything that you use. I mean, they're trying to put. Man, I was going so good there. They're trying to put a lot of emphasis on all the stuff that needs to be taken care of for environment, and they're really hurting the people that live there because of that. I mean, $1 million house in California, and you come here, not saying like Dallas or something like that, but more or less like in our rural area, $1 million house there, we could probably get it for probably about 100,000
or less.
Or less, yes. But
because $1,500 for rent for an apartment up there is nothing special.
Yeah, and
that's a month.
You know what? We got away from that whole the fossil fuel on that, but
we're detouring again.
Yeah, it's what happens at times. You start talking on one thing, you end up like 3 subjects down the road and trying to figure out how to get your road back. Now, on that note, we can also talk about the air pollution scare that's always happening. It's really not a problem where we're at. I mean, we're in a small area. Me traveling we go to Fort Worth or Dallas all the time. And, yeah, the only thing I can gauge on it is my sinus infections a little bit more. When we're in Dallas, I can barely breathe there because I got really bad allergies. But you come into an area like this, or even San Antonio. San Antonio's a decent-sized city, and it doesn't have that much of a smog issue. A lot of people are moving from places that have smog issues down there, and more or less causing the big problem with the air pollution.
And it is another one of those things. I mean, yes, it is a scare. It is a thing that the media plays up far more than they probably need to. But you also have to recognize that there are times where those pollutants do become concentrated enough to become dangerous. The government even issues warnings, for certain areas when the air health condition is too low. Stay indoors, breathe filtered air kind of stuff.
Yeah, but you also got to look at how many people live in those cities. Well, honestly, on some situations like that, I think it's spacing out. And I understand, hey, I want to be closer to my job, so everybody wants to be enclosed into those areas. And when you got an enclosed area like that, you have those pollutants coming through from vehicles, from houses, or towers, freaking skyscrapers and stuff like that.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that, I understand. I understand that the media is going to hype them up more than they need to be hyped up. But on the same token, we need awareness of them because some of these things are an actual problem.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about the hole in the ozone layer along with our wonderful pollution problems, you take a look at that, it will eventually fix itself. It has, to the most part, fixed itself, or for the most part, closed. They say it's still a small portion of it there. But on the same token, if we hadn't discontinued the use of chlorofluorocarbons, or CFC,
which the only time we use CFC anymore is for coolant. And you have to have licenses and everything to get that through.
And even less than we used to use it for before.
Yeah.
And there's other things that we've reduced the use of that were causing those issues.
That, and I think the hairspray hair is over with too.
Well, that's scary.
I know, those big hairs. I mean, I'm so turned on with those big puffy hairs they have.
Yeah, you're lying your butt off.
I am. I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised there's a lot of people that didn't have big puffy bushes and everything. They were like spraying hairspray on their bush before a date, going, "I'm gonna make this happy." But hey, there's if you have any of those that are, what? Never mind.
I'm just surprised the people spraying those gigantic hairdos with all of that hairspray didn't spontaneously combust.
Oh no, they did. There's videos on YouTube
on the carpet for a little while.
Okay, yes, that would be funny. No, they had. I've seen a video on YouTube where they had, the chick was like hairspray. Well, this is just regular hairspray from nowadays, but it's still in a can, it's still flammable. Well, they're spraying and everything like that, and someone in the back lit up a cigarette, and the whole car just caught on fire. It was horribly awesome. But yeah,
sounds like an epic fail there.
Yeah, it was very. No, the problem with smog really is you're in our environment. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Is you're in an environment that doesn't have a natural filter for that type of pollution, which is a natural filter is plants.
Yeah, and then in those bigger cities, they do tend to reduce the amount of plant life considerably.
Oh, yeah.
Of course,
You have to have almost a big-ass forest just to have that, to fix that pollution.
We can build electronic filters, and we can build scrubbers, and we can build other things that, to a large degree, could process the air down. But you don't hear anybody talking about the ability to build those things. No, they only talk about the problem, because they're more looking to scare people than they are to inform people that if we start working in these directions, we can fix the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's mainly what we're trying to cover here, is the fact that most of the mass media outlets, instead of educating people toward what our issues are, they're just trying to use scare tactics in order to get more people to buy their newspaper or click a like on their page or all of that other good stuff that just basically boils down to the next advertising dollar they get.
Yeah. And that gets up to our next issue.
Our next issue... Well,
we were going to cover air pollution, but we cover the smog with the air pollution. So,
well, smog and air pollution are kind of pretty much the same thing. I mean, Bing. I think it's saying hello.
Yeah, I know. It is.
You forgot to tell it to be quiet, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. No, I forgot as I closed up all the applications on the laptop before we did this. That's not the one I need. I lost it. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
And it migrated to another place?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Well, the next one was going to be deforestation, which comes with the air pollution problem. So, right now, I think what it was, well, hell, right now it's Australia. It was Brazil, starting in, I think, about October or September timeframe, where they're doing control fires, cut around the rainforest so they could actually build more farmlands and more cities. And at times, the actual rainforest needs to be cut down a little bit, so more rainforest ends up coming in. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They see these fires on, especially the control fires. They don't understand control fires, because what a control fire actually is a fire that, when they are cutting away, instead of cutting trees and everything like that, they start a fire, creates more nutrients for the soil that goes in, and basically the plant life will grow anew.
There's another aspect of the controlled fires. A controlled fire is mainly used in a lot of situations to burn away the underbrush and the plant life that is more flammable, so that during the heavy fire season, you don't have an uncontrollable fire. In other words, if a section of a forest were to catch fire...
Basically what they're having right now in Australia, and what they usually have in California.
Right. If a section were to catch fire and you didn't have fire breaks and you haven't done controlled burns to limit the amount of stuff there is to burn, when the fire does start, it goes and you can't put it out.
Yeah. And that's more... Right now, I mean, I think I've seen a map of Australia burning. It's pretty much almost the whole entire continent. Give a reference of how big Australia is. It's basically as big as the United States. We have a little tiny island on the side, Tasmania, but it's like our Florida. Tasmania is like their Florida.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had like Florida Man there in Tasmania, and they just call it Tasmania Man. That would actually be pretty cool and funny.
I was kind of wondering, somebody else was asking me if I knew if the koalas were going to survive the fires.
Oh, dude, yeah. A lot of the wildlife there is getting... basically, it's barbecue in Australia. Australians are just like Texans. They love their barbecue, but I don't think that much. But that's another thing, that you have people that are. But I want to say those people that really get into their we need to save the rainforest. We need to save this. We need to do this. I don't think they understand that in natural occurrences, there's natural fires all the time. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, like a pine trees, the pine cone. The only way a pine cone, actually, which is a seed, becomes a tree is through a fire.
Well, there is another way, but it's rather painstaking and requires...
Yeah, but the fastest way, through fire.
Intervention.
Just like most relationships, the best way to get rid of it is just through fire.
You only say that because you've had bad relationships.
Yeah. No, I've had some good ones, but we won't go into that subject. That's later down the road.
It's... As far as the deforestation is concerned, if most people knew that the majority of the air processing and cleaning doesn't come from the forests to start with, it comes from the plant life in the ocean.
Yeah.
Which is, if you take the time to look it up, you don't have to take my word on it, but if you take the time to look it up, that's what the majority of the scientific consensus currently states, is that there's not enough growing vegetation in our forests to process the air that this planet has. Therefore, it has to be down to the plant life that grows into the oceans and the water itself processing the air.
Which goes into our other subject, the pollution in the oceans, which no matter what, that really is a big problem because we're going through the most harmful of the ocean is plastics, which you don't really hear that much of. I mean, you hear it every once in a while, but I used to back in 2000, 95 to 2000, it was, oceans. We're destroying the oceans. We're putting too much plastic in the ocean, which we're still putting too much plastic in the ocean.
I mean, heck, you look at some of the third world countries that were processing all of the plastics. They're even now starting to refuse accepting plastics for processing anymore because it's such a difficult thing to process.
Yeah. I mean, right now, a lot of them are actually just turning into clothing. That's one of the big processes. That's why half the time you don't see different colored plastics anymore. Most of the time it's just clear because it's easier to process.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff, we are destroying a lot of the oceans through plastics, through
other forms of garbage.
Yeah. Which there's people out there that actually have pushed through and made something that benefits that kind of environment. I mean, I've seen a 6-year-old kid. I think a lot of people want to say it was just here recently, but the kid actually made a filtration. God help me on this one.
Be careful what you ask for.
I know, right?
Do I need to move over there before the lightning hits?
No. No, basically made a filter for the ocean. Made a filter for the ocean, and it works on just the basic current of the ocean. You just collect the stuff, and you just go out, pick up the stuff up, bam. But we didn't praise him enough. Not a lot of people know about this kid. They did. I think he was from. God, I would have to do more research on that one. We'll do something. Well, hell, we'll do a podcast about him. He's actually pretty intelligent. Instead of doing what everybody else wants to do right now, and that's that Swedish girl that's on climate change, and everybody tit for tat. They're praising her, and they even tried to get her a Nobel Peace Prize for that shit that she did.
What did she do?
She went to the UN and complained that the climate change is bad. Literally, that's it.
And if you didn't see it, I'll play it for you again.
Yeah, he's what? And since we don't have this on video, what is Michael doing? The dog is basically smacking his head with his hand.
Face palm.
Yeah, face palm. But and what's sad is people were upset about the person that actually did win it, and it was basically he did peace talks between Syria, Libya, and another country that tosses it out of my head. But he did peace talks and saved millions of lives doing this. He won the Peace Prize. He deserves having the Peace Prize for that. So there's people out there, she should have gotten it. I was like, no, she shouldn't have. She bitched moaned and complained like everybody else did. She just did it on national news, and that guy just kept in the shadows. He did his job. He was literally a president of a country, and he did these talks. I was like, no, he deserves that. Not this little shit.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that. I mean, when you think about all of the apocalyptic things that we have to deal with or have had to deal with over the years, with the media outlets are telling us, this is going to be the end of the world. I mean, heck, I remember them telling us that in Y2K, all the computers were going to die.
Oh, yeah. Where everything's going to go... Well, they're doing that right now. I mean, there's a lot of... Like, when you do a check, you're doing 2020. Instead of... a lot of people are doing, like, abbreviations, just 20. Mm-hmm. But what you can do is you can put 20 and put on the back end 21. Or some of that shit. But it just comes up to the... just simple common sense. And right now, I still do 2020. Or I'll start doing 2020. But it's to the point where people don't understand something. I mean, and I'm not talking like a lot of large people that are super stupid. I'm talking about intelligent people. Don't think of something that should be obvious, and they just go on their day-to-day lives. I mean, how many times have you gone throughout the day, because you're a pretty intelligent person, that I tell you something, and you're going like, that's not how it works. You look it up, it's like, oh my God, how stupid am I?
Often enough.
Too many times, actually. Build a rocket, but can't do basic other stuff.
Who needs to eat?
I know, right? But that comes to another subject, is the Y2K scare, which really did. Everybody was thinking that as soon as 2000 hit, that the world was going to crash. They're just going to bomb up.
But wasn't that something to do with like the Aztec calendar or some garbage?
No, that was 2012.
Okay.
2012. We'll get to that one. But what it was the people didn't understand that they thought the computers. I mean, they were going to the stores and buying gallons and gallons and gallons of water because they didn't think they were going to have water, or they didn't. And what ended up happening, people. And if you're not old enough to remember this, which, if you're listening, thank you for being this young. But what had happened is people thought that the whole infrastructure of the world was going to crash down. Lights weren't going to come on. Water wasn't going to come out of the spigot. We weren't going to be able to watch our Saturday morning cartoons when we had Saturday morning cartoons. Everything was going to go into the shithole. We were going to die. People were going to have to bury us, but they didn't know where they're going to bury us. Hell on earth was going to happen because the computers couldn't understand 0, 0 from 9 and 9.
Yeah, that would be that, yeah. Yeah, I seem to remember that. And I remember explaining to people that there was no way that was going to happen. I even remember showing people that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Which is really sad. Our next subject we're going to go into...
Why computers love David.
Yeah, I'm going to blow it up. Bioweapons. Bioweapons were... When was bioweapons really introduced?
Oh, they've gone back and forth since the early medieval centuries.
Yeah, because I remember they had... what is it? Genghis Khan used diseased cows and was catapulting it over...
I thought it was cats.
No, it was cows.
It was cows?
It was cows. That and the cow hitting a freaking wall would damage the wall. Plus, it would cause disease.
Yeah, I know. During the English times, they would actually fling cats, rats, and dead bodies over walls.
Yeah. Well, some of them were just dead bodies too, just plain anything dead. And what would happen is the dead body would biodegrade, causing what was it?
It would break down.
It was Black Plague, wasn't it?
I think during the English time, yeah, they were throwing bodies that were contaminated with the plague over walls.
No, I mean with Genghis Khan, what was?
No.
What kind of disease actually comes from doing that though?
It's it depends on what you're throwing over the wall.
A dead body's a dead body. I mean, well, that's what I'm thinking. The dead body,
Okay.
that would go into a freaking catapult, jettison, hits other people.
Okay,
If a dead body hits you, what kind of disease are you getting?
You could be not getting any disease. You could be getting whatever disease the body previously had.
What if so if a body doesn't have any kind of disease or anything, you're not going to get anything from it.
And
What about a hep C? I mean, get hit in the eye. You could get fucking pink eye. It explodes
well,
because it's bloated.
this
It
is
explodes. You get pink eye. You can't see. You get stabbed because you can't see because your eyes are closed. That's what's happening.
I can perfectly imagine that scenario. That's exactly what Genghis Khan was thinking. Exploding cow manure is going to cause everybody to not be able to see.
Dude, could you imagine that actually happening? You're just like, they're throwing motherfucking cows. And it just explodes. They're throwing exploding cows! That would...
Back in that time, that would be considered witchcraft.
I know, right?
Right along with the pepper bombs that he did actually throw over the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. But our next one is engineering of crops.
Yeah, everybody's whining and complaining about the GMO foods and this, that, and the other. Did they not even realize that corn, in all its glory as we know it now, is practically a genetically engineered food?
You're ruining my hopes and dreams. I go to the organic section all the time.
Yeah, well, if you go to the organic section, you're still not getting anything that we as humans haven't cultivated to be the way it is now over the last hundreds of years.
But it has no antibiotics in it, so it's supposed to be better, right?
Most of the time they don't put antibiotics into the crops anyway, and they don't grow them to have antibiotics.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like chickens and stuff like that.
Well, that's different than from genetically modified.
Okay. Okay, hold on. How is it different between a corn crop that's genetically modified to a chicken or cow that we pumped into with steroids to make bigger meat products? It's still a modification. I mean, I understand that the genetics
Because
you're not taking.
one doesn't count as a genetic modification. One counts as a chemical alteration, which means they can sell you chicken that's been pumped full of steroids and antibiotics and still tell you it's non-GMO.
Okay, I think we scared a shit ton of people already. Because I scared the shit ton of me. Like, what? Wait a minute, that makes sense, and people would do that. Okay, our next one is the last one that this year everybody was screaming out. Like Guinness Thornbur. No, it wasn't that. What was her name? Good thing we're not live on this. Because if we were live, we would have like
500 people telling us what we're messing up.
Yeah, that's another thing is everybody if you want the right answer,
Ask everybody.
No, don't ask everybody. Make a wrong answer first, then you'll get the right answer eventually. But you have to figure out the percentage. It's like 80% believe this, so we're gonna have to go with that.
Yeah. Ask everybody and filter it by the majority.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's wrong. That is not the way to get a right answer. But that's a way to get a majority consensus answer.
I mean, climate change originally was
Global warming.
global warming. Yeah, they just changed the name because it wasn't. It
Technically global warming.
It didn't sound more horrible than. I mean, if you think about it, the climate changes all the time. Everybody's just getting. kind of interesting. What I'm doing right now, people, is I'm Googling climate change, and I got climate change girl death metal, which, hold on, I want to see this. We can't, I just want to see it.
You're going to frighten our viewers.
Oh, Greta Thornburg. That's the, and someone did a saying Swedish death metal. That is awesome. Go look at it. Okay, this is what it is on YouTube. It's Greta Thornburg sings Swedish death metal, which, if you haven't heard death metal, it is freaking out. We can't play it for you now because copyright law and everything like that. The big, universe that we can't really get into right now. But but this is the I think she's like 14. She's from Sweden. She's an actress, mind you. And I still, to this day, think that someone paid her to do this so people... It's like they wanted something to talk about. I mean, I'm probably not even on the board here on being right. I am not saying I am right on this. But in my conspiracy theory aspect, I think someone paid this little girl to do this. Because if you actually look at her lifestyle, she's saying, oh, I'm so oppressed, I'm so this. Her family, her parents now, I don't know about her family is very well off. I'm not going to say rich, just say well off. Okay? High middle class.
Well, you'd kind of have to be relatively well off to get that kind of an audience with the...
Well, you got to know somebody. I mean, I could probably get recognition as I start blowing like most of the people, but hey.
Yeah, well, you can't expect that from a 14-year-old girl.
That's pretty weird. Anyways. But what's really sad is right now, and this is where we're going to get off all the subjects. We're going to get off all the subjects that we just talked about, and we're going to talk about the actual problem in this, of all this stuff that we're talking about right now, because at one point in time, it was heavily talked about. Now it's not really talked about. The main thing that is causing all this stuff is people aren't willing to do the research. And mind you, most people don't have time to do that. There's a lot of people that are workaholics, and someone tells them this one thing, and they prepare for something that bad. Zombie apocalypse is going to happen because someone found a deer that looked like it was zombified when it just had some kind of fucked up disease. And people hoard guns and ammo. I don't find that strange because I live in Texas. But, other places that actually have that, and they don't understand why this person's doing this. It's because he was given a little bit of information. Wasn't giving the whole information. And a lot of stuff you actually do, quote unquote, clickbait. You click on it, and you listen to it, you read it, and it still doesn't give you all the information. It gives you, and if you actually read the whole article, I've read articles that I was like, okay, what's happening here? Then I had to actually do my own research. I went on to different sites. Or I would type in what's going on this, and I would actually have a discussion. It does give you that discussion aspect to where you want to talk with your friends, your coworkers, anybody that's around you. Hey, have you heard about this? Or you hear it in passing from somebody in the grocery line, which basically self-checkout now. And now we don't have that actual grocery line anymore. So we've gotten rid of that aspect. We've just want the information, and we're getting it from one source, and most of the sources aren't really doing the research anymore.
They're getting it the same way we're getting it. Oh, I heard it from.
Yeah. Most of the times, most of the stuff that I actually see that is news nowadays is basically, hey, this right here is trending. Well, what's trending? An egg. That was actually the biggest talking point at one point in time was an egg. Now, with art right now, it was...
a banana taped to
the wall. Yes.
Or, light up clothing.
I still think he was a... Light up clothing is always talking about. You always need to hear about that light up clothing.
And it's not near as much. It's not near as important as transparent clothing.
No. No, it's not.
Well, no. I guess that would entirely depend on who's wearing it, wouldn't it?
Sometimes you just want to see the boobs.
Yeah, but I imagine if he was not the right shape, you wouldn't want to look at those.
I still want to see the tits. But it's really caused by our media that gets us to where we're at a juncture where a lot of people don't. It's that one person that believes it so badly because that's all they're looking at. They're not looking at a bigger picture. They can't. And you have people that want to get their 2 cents in that hasn't done any research. There was a thing that shown for the mass shootings, which we're not condoning mass shootings or anything like that. What it was a photo of what the FBI says this is mass shootings that happened here recently. And some of it was black people, some people it was Mexicans, and some people it was very few whites on there. The only problem with that was the person that made that photo was literally a white supremacist. But there's people that went on. It's like, not all the people that are white that are mass shooting. Actually, a lot of people some people are just sick. Apparently, us white people are sicker than others, apparently. But it's what people want to see, and they don't go after the information after that. No one really wants to be that intrusive in their world, except for really heavily intelligent people.
Yeah, and even those really don't want to be that most of those don't even want to be that in touch with the world. Where you just... I guarantee you didn't see people like Einstein trying to keep up to date with current events.
No, he barely kept up in his current clothing. I mean, he really didn't. He only had a couple of outfits that he wore. Which, it was just too much for him.
Yeah, if I could get away with wearing my pajamas everywhere, I would.
You can. You just choose not to.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I have to wear steel toes at work.
Well, that going about, if you like this podcast, go ahead and give us, see if you can give us 5 stars and write a review and see what we actually can improve on this. And looking up at it, and go to our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page. We also have an Instagram, which doesn't have that much stuff as of right now, but see what we're all about. Thank you very much. Have a good day.